Welcome back, everyone, to another thrill-packed episode of Wine Down at Specs. I'm your host, Pat Kelly, where we search the world for new, interesting, cool, groovy people to talk to about some very interesting appellations that not necessarily cross our mind all the time. One such appellation is South Africa. And today I'd like to introduce Kobie Lochner from Vrede. I'm told that some letters in Afrikaans they sound different than they do in English. This is one of them. He'll correct me. But nonetheless, welcome to Texas.
Thanks,
Great to have you here. And please tell our viewing audience, if you will, about the wines of South Africa, and particularly yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and your pronunciation wasn't bad. It's Rust en Vrede is how you pronounce it. And I don't think a lot of people realize what a rich history South Africa has in winemaking. And the settlers arrived in the late 1600s, and soon after they planted vineyards. And it was a port where a lot of their ships traveling the spice route from Europe to India would stock up on fresh produce and obviously wine as well. And it's become a part of South Africa's culture and what the country does. And more specifically, our wines, the two wineries, Guardian Peak and Rust en Vrede, are located in Stellenbosch, which is not far from Cape Town, on the southwestern part of the country. It's really a wonderful place to grow vineyards in and to make wine. It's a Mediterranean climate, so cool, wet winters and warm, dry summers. If you can't make a good wine there, it's really your own fault. And Rust en Vrede is one of the older properties in South Africa. It was started in 1694, and the current owners bought it in the late 70s. The Engelbrecht family owned the property, and John Engelbrecht started the Guardian Peak Winery in 1998. His idea with those wines were to make something that's a little bit more accessible, both stylistically and also in terms of price point. And the wine that we have here today, the Guardian Peak Shiraz, I think is a beautiful example of South African Shiraz. It's showing a lot of fruit, and as you very well know, down in South Africa we have a lot of sunlight, so you get a lot of ripeness in the grapes. And at the same time, there's some really nice elegance to the wine as well. So if you've got a friend who wants to start trying out Shirazes, I think this is a wonderful example to recommend to them, because it's got all the characteristics that you normally look for in Shiraz, but at the same time it's accessible, and I think it would appeal to a very wide audience.
It's got a beautiful, beautiful, rich nose, and it's not just ripe fruit, but there's a nice. Is that the smoke in the barrel that I'm?
You normally pick up smoky characteristics. I think you'll pick up a bit of spicy white and white and probably black pepper as well. The oak regime on these wines are not as heavy. We try to use older barrels, second and third fill barrel, purely because of we want the flavors to really come through in the wine. If you make a wine in this style, you want people to enjoy it at quite a young age. It's not something you will keep in your cellar for a very long time. So I think this is the kind of wine you're going to pick off the shelf and take with you to dinner tonight, preferably with a nice steak.
Yeah, with some nice big beefy steak, and it will be just delicious with it. But it's very soft and easy and approachable now, and those spicy notes are really quite apparent and very complimentary. It's a beautiful wine.
I think Shiraz is one of the wonderful grape varieties, and it's I think you'll find Merlot and Cabernet are more the kind of go-to grapes and go-to wines that people feel comfortable with. But as soon as they start experimenting with Shiraz, I think it's a love affair starts, because Shiraz is completely different to what you're normally used to in drinking Merlot and Cabernet. So I think if the more people we can get latched onto this grape, the better it is.
Well, it's excellent and a beautiful representative of your beautiful country. But it's not the only one you brought here today.
No, we always have to save the best for last. Rust en Vrede is, as I said earlier, a historical property in South Africa, and more specifically Stellenbosch. This is all estate grown fruit. The property is just over 50 hectares, which to put it in perspective for you, it's just over 100 acres, of which we've got around 80 planted under vine. And at this property, we only work with 3 varieties: Cabernet Sauvignon, Shiraz, and Merlot. And what you have here today, the Vrede estate, is a blend of all 3 of those varieties. So you basically have 60% Cabernet, 30 Shiraz, and 10 Merlot. And coincidentally, or probably not coincidentally, that's also the ratio in which the vineyards are planted on the property. So this is really a great reflection of Vrede's terroir and what the property can show.
This is beautiful, and the nose just reflects of the those Bordeaux varieties that it's made from. And
we have restaurants at both the wineries as well, and that's become an integral part of our business to show the wines in a restaurant environment where people can enjoy it with food is really the best way you can do it. If you, I know, like in South Africa, you also enjoy a good piece of red meat in Texas, and we serve a wonderful steak at Vrede at the winery, and that's, I think, just complements this wine perfectly.
Well, does it ever? If I had the red meat too, I can just imagine what the relationship would be, because this is just a beautiful wine, absolutely gorgeous. Well, folks, that's a little bit of it from South Africa, and from what I understand, there's a whole lot more to be told, and we'll have that in subsequent episodes of Wine Down, so please join us for those. In the meantime, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your winery and your wonderful culture with us, and it's a beautiful thing. So
wonderful to be with you. Thanks, Pat.
Pleasure's all mine, trust me. Cheers.